Does the power of the presidency lie with a pen or the president? Presidents have used auto pens for decades. Now Trump objects to Biden's use of one. This is in reference to Trump's latest fun, not tweet, because it's on Truth Social, but his claim that Biden's pardons and potentially a couple of his other orders are null and void because they were signed using auto pen, and he also claims more so that Joe Biden didn't even know about them. Now, obviously, I think if Joe Biden didn't even know about them, yes, the orders, pardons, whatever, are null and void. If the power lies with the president and the president has no idea that he even signed them, then, or ordered them, then no, they don't count. The argument, of course, now being with all these disclosures of people going, yeah, you know what, Joe Biden actually was not sharp as a tack, as most of the American public saw, uh, even before his debate where his brain just, completely melted. Most people could see, yeah, look, this guy was not sharp as a tack. Maybe he had moments of clarity and lucidity. He probably did. That's how senility works. And he probably had times where he didn't know. He was not in full control of his faculties. And I would say, and I think most people would argue, would probably not be mentally fit for the office and therefore not fit to pardon people or do anything with the presidential power that he is vested with. Now, if his orders were signed using AutoPen, does that necessarily for sure null and void them? That's probably a legal issue. And last I looked, George W. Bush had looked into the use of AutoPen for signing orders. And his legal department basically determined that it's probably okay, but they never used it. They didn't use them for, official decrees and orders because of the possibility of real legitimate legal challenges. Now, let's look through this article from the AP, this is the Associated Press, and see how wrong or right I am. President Donald Trump claimed Monday that pardons recently issued by Joe Biden to lawmakers and staff on the congressional committee that investigated the January 6th, 2021 Capitol riot have no force because, Trump says, the then president signed them with an auto pen instead of by his own hand. Now, to me, that doesn't necessarily null and void them. Again, like, just because you did not sign them by hand, that doesn't mean anything. Like, what happens if, you have like a paraplegic president? That could happen. The president, God forbid, is in some horrible accident. He's still the president. His mental faculties are 100% still intact, but he's paralyzed from, the neck down, and he can no longer sign by hand documents. Okay, well, let's say he verbally on tape says, "I approve this order." I think that's fine. I think that's basically the same. That's authorizing it through his own force of will, if not a signature. Signature doesn't matter. It's the delineation of I'm doing this. There is a specific record of me doing this, and I am doing this personally. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. Now that is a key issue. I don't know if they will ever be able to prove that because that is proving what is in someone's mind at the time. And I don't think Joe Biden is going to personally go, oh yeah, whoops, I didn't even know. I don't think that's going to happen. So proving that in any kind of legal sense is going to be very difficult, if not straight up impossible. Trump wrote on his social media site Trump didn't offer any evidence to support his claims, nor did the White House. Now, that's not technically true. He did post pictures of the signatures, and they do look remarkably similar. Slash, like, I mean, to me, they look identical. but he did not offer any evidence to support he didn't know anything about them. That's true. Trump asserted in his all caps post that the pardons are void and have no effect in his estimation. But presidents have broad authority to pardon or commute the sentences of whomever they please. The Constitution doesn't specify that pardons must be in writing, and auto pen signatures have been used before for substantive actions by presidents. A representative for Biden declined comment. Okay, now this statement I have a lot of problems with because presidents have broad authority to pardon or commute the sentence of whomever they please, just like presidents have broad power to declassify documents whenever they want for whatever reason they want. They don't have to. There's nothing in the Constitution that says they have to sign specific papers, right? Right? I mean, we didn't have a president like charged with criminal acts because he said, "Hey, I'm declassifying this. We didn't go through the paper, but I have the power to declassify, so I declassified it in my head, and that means it's done." Which is it? Do you have to go through some policies and procedures, or does the president have this power and can just do it whenever they want? Boom, done. Bing, bang, boom. You can't have both. Now, what is an auto pen? I'm assuming it's a thing that automatically writes your signature. An auto pen is a mechanical device that is used to replicate a person's authentic signature. A pen or other writing implement is held by an arm of the machine, which produces a signature after a writing sample has been fed to it. Presidents, including Trump, have used them for decades. Auto pens aren't the same as an old fashioned ink pad and rubber stamp or the electronic signatures used on PDF documents. I think they basically are. I mean, they're not the same. I get it, but in terms of like legal sense, it's a machine, reproducing a signature. Why is it suddenly an issue? The Oversight Project at the Conservative Heritage Foundation think tank recently said its analysis of thousands of pages of documents bearing Biden's signature found that most were by AutoPen, including pardons. Again, I think most documents bearing his probably, yeah, he didn't sign all of those things. I don't think that's a big deal. But specific, large, impactful, substantive orders, I mean, if you used AutoPen, there is no necessary proof that this guy actually signed it. That is the basis of a legal challenge and why most presidents would probably not use AutoPen for those specific circumstances because it does raise the possibility of a legitimate legal challenge, which throws those orders under scrutiny, which you don't want. Mike Howell, the project's executive director, said in an interview that his team is scrutinizing Biden's pardons because that power lies only with the president under the Constitution and can't be delegated to another person or a machine. Howell said some of Biden's pardon papers also specify they were signed in Washington on days when he was elsewhere. Now, that would be a piece of evidence, if that's true. That does mean that, okay, if it is vested entirely in the president, this power can only be exercised by the president himself. If they're signed in Washington when he's not there, then they could not have been signed by him. And therefore, that power was not exercised correctly. I don't see a logical way out of that. What does the law say? There is no law governing a president's use of an auto pen. Yeah. A 2005 opinion from the Office of Legal Counsel at the Justice Department said an auto pen can be used to sign legislation. Barack Obama became the first president to do so in May 2011 when he signed an extension of the Patriot Act. Obama was in France on official business, and with time running out before the law expired, he authorized use of the auto pen to sign it into law. Now, again, this seems like something where it's like, oh man, all right, this is a big deal. This was like, I was in France, I couldn't do it, I couldn't be there, I have to authorize it. I'm assuming there's a record of this authorization somewhere. Like maybe he signed a piece of paper that says, hey, sign this with AutoPen. That is then, I mean, it is then delegating. It is then delegating it to a person or a machine. Potentially, legally, not necessarily, we would have to look into that more specifically, the legal precedent, all that kind of stuff. But again, this is the problem with using AutoPen, whatever, printers to do it, rubber stamps. It's a problem because it raises the specter of impropriety, even if there isn't any. Much earlier guidance on pardons was sent in 1929 from the Solicitor General, the attorney who argues for the United States before the Supreme Court, to the Attorney General. It says, neither the Constitution nor any statute prescribes the method by which executive clemency shall be exercised or evidenced. Has Trump used an AutoPen? Yes, but only for very unimportant papers, quote, he said on Monday, which I think is generally speaking the case. He told reporters aboard Air Force One on Sunday night that we may use it as an example to send some young person a letter because it's nice. Yeah, we get thousands and thousands of letters of support for young people. Hang on. From people that aren't feeling well, etc. But the side pardons and all the things that he signed with an AutoPen, it's disgraceful. Why is he singling out the January 6 pardons? Well, I don't think he is the January 6th specifically. He's talking about all of the pardons that were signed something like 20 minutes, like the last 20 minutes of, his presidency. Trump remains angry at being prosecuted by the Justice Department over his actions in inspiring his supporters to go to the Capitol on January 6, 2021, in an attempt to stop lawmakers from certifying Biden's defeat of him in the 2020 election, though the case was dismissed after he won re-election. At the end of his term, Biden issued preemptive pardons, which is, we've already made a video on that, and it's kind of ridiculous, but cool. Preemptive, broad, sweeping, this whole like 10-year period. Any crimes that were committed or might have been committed, maybe, who knows, whatever, they're just blanket pardon for everybody. Yeah, that's cool. To lawmakers and committee staff to protect them from any possible retribution from Trump. On whether pardons must be in writing or by the president's own hand, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit has said the plain language of the Constitution imposes no such limitation. But it also does not enumerate that that is the case. So, I mean, it really kind of depends on what interpretation of the Constitution you want to go with. Are the powers that are enumerated there specific? And they say, whatever they say, this is the power of the presidency. That's it. That is the power of the presidency. And you don't get to broaden out the definition or the way in which it can be applied or delegated or interpreted. Or do you want to go, hey, look, anything that's not specifically in there, if the Constitution doesn't say, hey, you can't kill your third cousin, fourth removed, well, then you can totally do it. Does it say in the Constitution that I can't kill my third cousin, fourth removed? Does it? I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I can do it then. Now, that's obviously a lot of hyperbole, but also, no, that's true. That is the logical endpoint of, if it doesn't say we can't do it, then we can do it. Biden's statement accompanying those pardons make clear they were official acts. I'm sure Biden wanted to do it. Yes. I do not argue that whatsoever. I'm sure he wanted to protect his family and Fauci and whatever. Yeah. But maybe He had no idea he was doing that. And somebody else went through the process for him. Biden's statement accompanying those pardons made clear they were official acts, say Carl Tobias, professor at the University of Richmond Law School. Biden issued hundreds of commutations or pardons, including to members of his family, also because he feared possible persecution by Trump and his allies. Trump vigorously used such powers at the opening of his presidency, issuing one document, a proclamation, granting pardons and commutations to all 1,500 plus people charged in the insurrection at the Capitol. Why is he singling out the January 6 pardons? Who's he? Who's he here? Because I don't think, I mean, what? I don't know. That's just weird wording. How else do presidents use the auto pen? Presidents also use an auto pen to sign routine correspondence to constituents, like letters recognizing a life milestone, which is what Trump said. Hey, this young person graduated college. We're auto penning it. Yeah, obviously. During the Gerald Ford administration, the President and First Lady Betty Ford occasionally signed documents and other correspondence by hand, but White House staff more often used auto pen machines to reproduce their signatures on letters and photographs. Yeah, so for unimportant, like non-official, official bullcrap. Yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean, there's a reason they do a whole giant presser where they have 10 pens and everybody's got their cameras trained on them signing a thing. It's to make sure that the legitimacy of these orders is unquestionable. If the legitimacy is questionable, it raises legal problems. So I don't think, I don't honestly think this is going to go anywhere. My guess is these pardons will stand and nothing will come of this, but it is entirely possible that they will be challenged. And it is entirely possible that we will get some more information about possibly Biden's, mental state at the time, whether or not he was aware of these things, who specifically, all of this type of stuff, which I'm fine with. Give me a little bit extra disclosure about, the nature of how things run in the White House. No problem. Let's do it. Great. Awesome. Cool. Do I think the pardons are going to go away? I doubt it. Would I be okay with it if Dr. Fauci had some, criminal liability for funding the Wuhan lab, lying to Congress or whatever, something like that? Yeah, if we could prove all that stuff, that'd be great. I'd be very okay with that. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I shall say farewell for now.